Susan L. Peterkin is a voice of influence for natural hairstylists and naturalistas. An award-winning cosmetologist, hair loss expert, and natural hair and beauty industry pioneer with over 35 years of experience, Susan is responsible for creating several firsts, such as creating and implementing the first texture hair care program at a correctional facility, teaching the natural hair course at Montgomery College, opening the first all-natural hair, no extensions salon in the DMV area, JAHA Hair Studio, from 1996 to 2021, and opening the first full-service natural hair salon located inside of a dermatologic office. Susan founded the Natural Hair Industry Convention, an education platform for the advancement of professionals. She's conducted groundbreaking research and developed the product formulations for her brand, JAHA Hair Care, an innovative solution that treats the symptoms of traumatic hair loss. In addition, Susan advocated for the passing of the Crown Act in state and local government, shout out Maryland, my home state, heavily influencing the culture to embrace natural hair. Susan has cultivated partnerships and collaborations with organizations such as the Paul Mitchell The School Asani, Texture vs. Race Collaborative as a coach, the Master Pioneer Awards, and more. As a speaker, creator, educator, mentor, and advocate, Susan is a trailblazer.
Hey, Susan, welcome to the Volume Up podcast. We are thrilled to have you. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm so happy to be here, Jeff. Thank you so much for inviting me.
We are thrilled. Susan, if you wouldn't mind, I know certainly a lot about you, and we've given a little bit of an intro. I want everybody listening here to know more. So how did you get started in beauty? Can you just lay it out for us?
So I'm going to go all the way back. So if no one recognizes from my accent, I'm originally from Jamaica. And I'm going to tell you this, when I get really excited, you might hear, pieces of it coming out.
We love it.
But literally, I was that young lady in the bathroom with my girlfriends, and I laugh at them now because they used to let me shave their eyebrows with a straight razor and all that stuff and doing, I'm like, you guys were crazy. When we had a read years ago, you don't let me, on your face. So I was that person. Yeah. And then my mom wasn't particularly good with doing hair. So my sister and I had to learn real early how to take care of my own hair. So that's where my journey started. And also, I read a lot. In my downtime, you see me, I will read, right? So I'm the youngest of four. So my siblings before me, they had all these books that they read for their literature classes and stuff. So during summertime, I would read all their classes. I don't know what book I was reading, and the word cosmetology just popped out at me. I was about 12 years old. And I'm like, cosmetology, that's what it means? That's what I've been doing? And lo and behold, when I went back to school, one of the teachers gave us an essay to write. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I'm like, oh, cosmetology. And no clue. It was a beautiful word. It sounds like what I was doing before. So I guess I spoke it into existence.
I love that.
Yeah. And didn't know how I was going to get there. But then fast forward, I'm 18 years old, living in Brooklyn from I was 16 years old, 18, just graduated from high school, and decided that I wanted to get my hair braided. And the stylist who was doing my hair back then, who was one of the reasons why I ended up loving the industry so much, because I just loved the way how she carried herself, where she spoke to me, how she explained everything she was going to do. And she thought that I was very curious, and she explained. So I said, well, I want to braid my hair. And she introduced me to one of the icons in the industry, Miss Diane Bailey, who was literally living about half a block from me. And back then in Brooklyn, the rave was to wear these tiny, intricate, really micro braids, right? With human hair, just really long. And I really wanted that. And I had to save my money to get it. She did my hair, and while she was doing my hair, we were talking, and I was also watching her doing it, and just really fascinated, right? And usually when you have that type of style, usually in about 4 weeks, you take the edges out, shampoo, redo your hair, and I couldn't afford to do it. So I took them out myself, and I redid the edges myself. And walking up the block one day, she saw me, and she looked at me, she's like, you went to somebody else? And I'm like, no. I did it myself. She's like, what? I'm like, yes. And she looked at me and she said, I'm getting ready to open my salon in 6 months. Do you want to come work for me? And without even thinking, Jeff, I just said, yeah.
Wow.
And that's where my journey started. being a shampoo assistant, learning from the beginning, from scratch with her. So I started in this industry as a micro braider. I would spend like 10, 12 hours on one person's head all day.
Wow.
And of course, I have my carpal tunnel to, that's where I started out. So
Wow.
I have 40 years in the industry and 38 years as a licensed cosmetologist.
Incredible. That is quite a journey. And you've done so much more since in this time, which we're going to get into. But thank you for sharing that. I feel like the manifestation, the calling forth the cosmetology, I love that. That's such an interesting take. We often hear people being like, oh, I had no idea, or, oh, I always knew, but this one was pretty special. So you've mentioned in the past that getting into the salon professional industry was not about styling for you. So then what was it about?
It was always about how people felt.
Good.
I just love how, even from the beginning with my friends, and when I did their eyebrows and they looked at the girl and they were like, oh, wow. And my heart would just palpitate, it just the way how people would feel. And the more I was in the salon, I realized it was the connection with the people and how the conversations we would have and how I would learn, from them. It was always much deeper. And then it got to another level where I started paying attention to my colleagues in the salon and how they interacted with each other and how we built relationship, because I learned so much from all these women, the ones older than me, the ones younger than me. And that's one of the things that I love about this industry now, even being in the collaborative, is being around all the artists and everything that we know about each other, and we learn from each other and we give back. So to me, it was always about going deeper, not bigger. You know what I mean? I'm sort of an introvert until I'm talking about something that I'm really passionate about. You would probably see me sitting aside and just watching everybody. And people tend to say, are you okay? And I'm okay. I'm just taking everything
it in.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it was never about the hairstyling. Because as I always tell people, I can tell you so many stylists who can do hair and wrap me around the little finger and throw me aside, right? But
I don't think that's true.
And when it comes to people, customer service, finding that colleague who is amazing and recommend them to do something or mentor them or see them in a situation is well, maybe you want to try this and this. And before, when I was doing it, I didn't recognize what I was doing until it was later on when a lot of people said, that's your thing, Susan. People tend to open up to me. So I had to embrace that.
Well, you've done so much in the way of opening other people up as well. So I think it's interesting you say that you're an introvert. I definitely see that. But then when you are passionate about something, I think you're such a force that you can't really mess with. There's such a dynamism that comes from you.
Thank you.
Talk to us a little bit about this mentorship that you talked about cultivating within your space and with others around you. How important would you say is mentorship within the salon professional industry?
It is so important. When I opened my salon, JAHA Hair Studio in 1996, I don't know how I decided to do it, but it was just downloaded to me, you only hire young people who you can train a certain way. So I would never hire someone who was had experience. I hired young people who just they had the energy, they wanted to do it. And as long as they wanted to do it, then I would train them and I would mentor. I mean, I would do stuff like teach them how to, open a bank account, stuff as personal as I'm walking them down to the corner and helping them to buy the proper bra. I mean, stuff just to let them know how you show up for work, how you do stuff, how you speak to people, that's what I realized. And the more I did it, the more I realized I would be the person that they would call in the middle of the night before they even call their own parent. You know what I mean? So I started taking on that role and I realized I was really good at it. And even then I didn't realize that much. But then as I went along and I started training, and I had young ladies, and back then it was unheard of, stayed with me 10, 13, 14, 15 years.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, build their career. And I see them now out there just amazing. And my heart just feels really good when I see them. You know what I mean? So that's what mentorship is to me. And then now that I realize that's my calling, and of course, the great Kia Neal also told me, that's your thing.
Yeah.
The last virtual convention we had, we started mentoring about 7 young ladies in the industry. And it has been going amazing, but I learned so much from mentoring that it's not even about just their lives in the industry, but it's also their family life and their personal life that we have to bring. You can't talk about the industry without talking about all the other parts. It just doesn't happen.
Well, let's get into that because you just brought it up, which is the Natural Hair Industry Convention. Talk to us about how you founded this. Like, I want to know everything because this is such a cool thing that you've done. And I think that everybody needs to be aware. So where do we start?
Okay, so the Natural Hair Industry Convention was started on paper, it was started in December 2013, on paper. A colleague of mine, a younger colleague in the industry, Angela Walker, had this amazing show. And she had all these people at the show and she invited me. And I was just looking around and I think she had about 1,000 people show up, but all these beautiful naturalists were standing around and like didn't really know what to do. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, you know, we need to do something together because before that I had a event called Nurturing the Natural You, which was basically the same thing, you know, nurturing, you know, you see the words coming back. It's always that with me. It's always the nurturing, the mentoring.
Going deeper, yeah.
You know, go deeper, right? Deeper, not wider, right? And I said, let's do something together. She said, what does that look like? And I said, we need to do something for professionals. You know what I mean? Because we are not represented when we go to the hair shows, we were not represented. It was like 1 or 2 product line. As I said, I learned in the Mecca, Brooklyn, about natural hair. So it was already in me, was who I am. I mean, I think I just turned 58. So out of my 58 years, I think I had a perm in my hair maybe 2 years. You know what I mean? And I did not like it. I didn't like the way my hair looked. It was flat to my head. So it's a part of me, right? So I'm like, so when I went to the shows and I saw what they were doing, I'm like, this is not what needs to be done. This is not right. So our professionals need to know we're not represented. And I said, so we need a space where we can network, number one, because if you're going to have an kind of organization network, we get left out because a lot of us weren't licensed and didn't know where we belong, but making money. We were in our homes, making money, making good money, sending our kids to school, doing all that stuff. But we didn't want to go through a program that didn't represent us, right? And didn't know how to teach us. So we decided to create that space for ourselves where we invited all the top people in our industry, both licensed and unlicensed, who have been working for a long time, so we could network. So it was business classes, technique classes, and just camaraderie and networking and building each other up. So that's how the convention was starting. Our first event was downtown Silver Spring, around the corner from my salon. What we did was we got about 50 of the major people in the industry, and we just had like a 2-hour, conversation, food conversation. What do you see this event looking like? What do we need to do? And we asked them. And then in 2015, we had our first convention, 2 days in Baltimore, and it was amazing, totally amazing. Everybody left there just on a high, feeling good, like, oh, we really needed it.
Incredible. And there's been obviously subsequent events. In 2019, we went virtual.
2019 was the last face-to-face in Atlanta.
Excuse me. Yes.
Yeah. We did a few years in Baltimore, and then we moved it the next 3 years in Atlanta.
And so now, with the upcoming convention, the first in which you're back in person, what are you feeling? How is this going? Talk to us about that.
Oh, it's going to be different because, as I said, with me, it's about going deeper, not
Mm-hmm.
wider.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of sad, a little bit, you might hear me get choked up. I lost my dad about, a year and a half ago. He was
Sorry to hear that.
major in my life.
Yeah.
You go to the convention, everybody knew him. You would see him in pictures and all that stuff. It took me to a place, Jeff, where I didn't realize. And I was like, mental health. And I knew it from before, with dealing. I have two amazing children, but they struggled with different, issues. And so mental health, I knew it was important. And I credit my daughter with pushing me to recognize that mental health is so important, because in our community is like, as Black women, push through it. Don't worry
strong.
about
Yep.
that. Yeah. And I have to confess, I was one of those, strong Black women who was like, oh, just get over it, girl. It's nothing. Get over it. But when it came up and bit my head off, it's either I was going to go in a hole or I was going to deal with it. And my personality is, I'm going to deal with it. I don't have no time I'm going to deal with it. So once I opened myself up, it's like people started coming to me, because the young ladies that I'm mentoring, oh my gosh, I realized also we need to do something about mental health also. So I decided to add another layer. So instead of just doing networking and technique, we're going to have a mental health and wealth day. And guess who is our honored guest?
Who?
Yana Vanzant.
Oh my God. If you don't know who I mean, come on. This is big. This is huge. Congrats.
Yes. So the first day is going to be our health and wellness community day. We're going to invite the community in, right? And we're going to talk about, building up your spirit, your mind, your body. Okay. And we're going to deal with the children too, let them be more secure in who they are, their hair, the way they look. So it's going to be a community event. And then later on that evening, we're going to have the Master Pioneer Awards. So the Master Pioneer Awards in the natural hair industry is like the Oscars, right? This is where we honor the trailblazers in our industry. This has been going on since 2010, and it's every other year. So this year, then the Master Pioneer Awards in the afternoon. And then on Sunday, we're going to have, and in the meanwhile, we're going to have a main stage with different people on the main stage, but then we're going to have our classes, techniques, or networking, events. And one of the things that I'm looking to do, and we're working on it right now, it's very important to me to let to have the younger generation understand how this industry came to be and who are the pioneers. Like, have you ever heard of someone named Anu Prestonia?
I've not, no.
Okay. So have you ever seen that cover of Essence magazine with Queen Latifah, and she has this braid look like a crown?
Yep.
That's Anu Prestonia's work.
Wow.
So we need people to know all these
Absolutely.
people who created the style that folks are
iconic
working on
imagery.
now and calling it different names. So do you know when you go to like a museum and they have like a little room and they have this video just playing all the time, about different things? So I want to have a room where people can go and just kind of relax, get away from everyone, but then they're getting information that's very important to the industry. So I have that also in mind. These are the kind of things that I'm going to have ready. My project manager is going to be so upset, because now that I'm telling you have to do it, right?
And now you got to, exactly. You're speaking it more than into existence. So good luck to them.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So those are some of the things that we have, so, we have a lot of people lined up. Not going to mention a name until they actually sign on the dotted line and everything, but it's going to be amazing. But of course, texture versus race is going to be in the house too. So
love that.
Yes.
All right. Where can people, first of all, when roughly is this taking place? How could people keep up with the updates and register, etc.?
So we already have the basic tickets on Eventbrite, and we're going to be updating that now. That we're going to we're starting to look like we have our space that we're going to be doing it. But it's October 7th to the 9th, and it's going to be in Baltimore, Maryland. We try to get someplace close to the airport so people can come back and forth. So within the next 2 weeks, we'll make the announcement. We'll have the save the date and start updating the Eventbrite page. So
Congratulations.
Follow natural hair industry to get all the updates.
Yep. And we will do you a solid and everybody listening a solid. We're going to be including links to social media channels, to the Eventbrite, everything in the show notes. So make it nice and easy for y'all to just scroll through and click and make this happen.
Awesome.
So excited about that. All right. But that is just one thing that you're up to. You're a busy lady, and we're going to talk about those things. I think importantly is that you've got yourself a hair care line. So you had mentioned that you were a salon owner, long time. What made you decide that you were going to go into hair care specifically?
It was out of necessity. It wasn't something that I needed. I needed a certain type of oil hair care for my clients, and I just didn't see it. So I decided to do my research and created it for myself. So for the past 20 years, it was just inside my salon. I never took it outside because I was never interested in taking it outside. Right?
Yeah.
So that was the basic oil that I created. I wanted an oil because my salon, JAHA Hair Studio, was the first all natural hair salon, no extensions, in the DMV area, right? Opened in 1996. So we use a lot of natural oils and herbs and all that kind of stuff in the salon. You walked in the salon, the smell was just amazing, right? Absolutely amazing. So as I said, I needed this, so I created that. Then I think after I had my daughter, I had some thyroid issue. I noticed that I started thinning, and I'm like, what's going on? But then once I started noticing myself, your clients usually reflect you. So my clients are growing older with me. And then all of a sudden I realized if I do 100 people for the week, maybe 50% of them have some kind of thinning or hair loss or something is going on. Wait a minute, something is going on, right? So I decided to start looking into herbs and natural remedies and stuff to start combat this hair loss. So I created this thing called a herbal rinse, which I still use today. It's one of my biggest sellers in the salon and endorsed by Dr. Kendrick for her clients who have, symptoms of inflammatory hair loss, right? And it's very soothing and relaxing also. And then I decided to create what I call my stimulating oil. And I never say gross because I'd never want to tell people that this is going to grow your hair because I'm that kind of stuff, right? So it stimulates and soothes the symptoms of traumatic hair loss, which is CCCA, traction, alopecia, those inflammatory types of hair loss. So didn't really realize what I was created. But once I was with Dr. Kendrick, she confirmed that the ingredients that I had in the product, and of course, since then I've changed a couple of ingredients because now we also know that some natural oils like lavender and rosemary are endocrine disruptors. So, just kind of change the formula around, but still have, make sure that it does the work and soothes, the hair loss. So that's how I started with the product line. And of course, the other day I got with this whole brush thing. I was using a brush, and every minute I was using the brush would just break. And I'm like, but this brush is really good. So I set out over a 1-year period to make this brush stronger. And this brush had just been amazing. So that's the Peterkin brush.
I saw that brush at the TVR Summit. It was a hotly demanded item. People were screaming for it across the rooms to make sure that they had them. So I can attest to that. Talk to us a little bit about what you mentioned, traumatic hair loss. I don't know that all of our audience is going to be as sort of aware or sensitive to this. You'd mentioned your clientele. I'd love to hear. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. So as I said, I decided to specialize maybe about 6-7 years ago because of what I was going through myself. I was diagnosed by Dr. Shoshana Kendrick of having two types of hair loss.
Yes.
I have hormonal hair loss and I have an inflammatory hair loss. And
Yes.
unfortunately, both of them are genetic, right?
Yes.
You know, my dad has male pattern baldness. My mom has female pattern baldness. I suspect that my dad has CCCA, which is centrifugal cicatricial alopecia,
Yes.
right? And basically the central because the center of your hair, centrifugal because it spreads all the way out, cicatricial because it's inflamed, and of course alopecia just means hair loss,
Yes.
right? So that's CCCA. It's actually the number one hair loss for most African American women, and a lot of men too. And so it shows up. You get itchy, burning, tenderness.
Yes.
They're still doing a lot of research on it, right? So there was so much going on in our community that I decided to specialize. So I kind of stepped away from regular hairstyling, and I started only seeing clients with hair loss. And then at the time, I was a patient of Dr. Kendrick, and she decided to leave the hospital where she was working and open her own practice.
Yes.
And like 3 a.m. in the morning, I text her and I'm like, I
Girls?
think we should work together.
I
And
love it.
She's like, absolutely. And we've been doing it for the past 4 years. So literally, we
Mm.
opened the first full service hair salon inside of a dermatology practice. Like literally, the clients they would come in, they get their hair shampooed by me. I give them their treatment. This is typical of someone who has like inflammatory hair loss, like CCCA, or traction alopecia. And they would walk across to her with their hair fully shampooed, blown out, dried, twisted, some big twists. She would give their shots, and they would come back over, and I would style their hair, and they would leave.
Wow.
So it's literally, or I would tell them how to, if she gave them, some kind of medication, I would still go over with them, how they should apply it, when they should apply it, what kind of products to use, what hairstyles is best. I've held a lot of hands crying because hair loss is emotional, very emotional for me too. That's one of the reasons why you see I'm embracing my grays these days, because I know it's better for me, with my hair loss to stay away from color.
Harsh
for me,
color. Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, so I just decided to specialize because there's not too many of us who truly understand about hair loss as natural hairstylists, licensed cosmetologists in the industry.
Another example of going deeper, Susan.
Yes, deeper.
All right.
Deeper.
You're giving me the chills. Well, talk to us about this initiative you've got. This is new, which is Check Your Center Part. Can you explain sort of why this is important?
Yes. So remember when I told you that most hair loss shows up in the crown, and with Black women, it's always, in the center, right? And I really wanted to come up with a simple tool, technique for my colleagues to detect hair loss, because guess why? We are on the front line of hair loss. Clients come to us first before they go to a dermatologist.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, most people don't know that a dermatologist is who you should go to for hair, scalp care, right? And unfortunately, we have all these classes out there where people are teaching and stuff, but here's the thing, Jeff, hair loss is a disease.
Yep.
Why are people coming to us for disease? It's a very dangerous territory, right? Because also time equals follicles.
Yep.
Right? So the time that you're spending using this product, that product, or kind of guessing work, your hair loss is getting worse and worse and worse. So I want stylists to work directly with dermatologists who specializes in hair loss. So I came up with this simple tool that it's a service. They can charge a little extra for it. I recommend that they make it a part of their consultation.
Sure.
And, I go through, it's 15 minutes, and you go through and you let your clients know, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's just like getting a treatment, like a steam treatment or a protein. It's a treatment. You want to find out so you can track your clients and see who is about to have hair loss or who can have hair loss in the future so that you can send them. And of course, I recommend that every stylist have at least 3 to 4 dermatologists named that they send their clients to, that they work well with, that is a dermatologist. They can literally go to their office, shadow them, learn from them so that they know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. So you had a personal connection with a dermatologist, which maybe makes it a little bit easier. For someone who's listening, who's interested in this and is trying to connect the dots as you're describing, how could they get in touch with a dermatologist? Like, where should they look? Like, any pro tips there?
Yeah, definitely. So, as I said, I've been very fortunate to know some of the top dermatologists in the area. Dr. Shoshana Kendrick, Dr. Yolanda Lenzi, Dr. Mina Singh, and they've all been at the convention talking about hair loss. Dr. Osei Tuju.
Another reason to go.
Yeah. You know, you have to go. That's, you learn, right? But here's the thing. They have now recognized that they need to partner with us because they now understand, right? They now understand that we recognize hair loss very, very early. But so now that they are empowering us, trying to teach us so that we can recognize early, so that it will make their jobs easier, so they can have more people, you know, growing their hair back or getting treatments earlier. Because 10 years ago, there wasn't hardly any treatment. Let me tell you something. There's so much stuff that these dermatologists have in their toolbox to regrow your hair. It's just amazing. You know what I mean? So I would say to stylists, anyone in the industry, find a dermatologist, just start calling up, like, you know, who specialize in hair loss. It's very important, specialize in hair loss.
In hair loss.
As I said, I was very fortunate that Dr. Kendrick was the, just this past outgoing chair of the National Medical Association section, the dermatology section. So she had all the, so I was very fortunate to be able to.
Casual.
So casual. So, you know, I learned a lot from them. But I know a lot of these dermatologists want stylists to come and work with them, but they want to make sure these stylists that their moral code is right when they come. Because we know that, you know, oh, I can grow your hair, I can do this, and we can do this. But no, because hair loss is a disease. And we are not medical professionals.
Yeah. Period. Okay.
Period.
Well, that was quite a journey. Something else that you managed to do while doing all of these other things is some legal advocacy.
I know.
So, I mean, you in particular, which is why it's such a privilege to be chatting with you, had a big part in the Crown Act passing in the state of Maryland. Has not passed nationwide yet, which is a shame, and we'll get into that. But it did in Maryland. How did this happen? How did you get involved? Talk to us about it.
Actually, I got involved on the local level first. My county that I live in, Montgomery County, Maryland, was the first local county to pass the Crown Act. Okay, so here it is now. So I've had my salon for how long now? A long time. And this young man, Will Jawando, who used to get his hair cut at my salon, okay, is now a county council member. So we're coming out of a meeting, you know, about what's going on in the neighborhood, because I'm also the president of the, I didn't put that in my thing, but I'm also the president of our local.
Of course you are, Susan. Of course you are.
Business.
Not surprised. Yep, sure.
Nonprofit association to help the small business in the area. So we're coming out of a meeting, and he's like, Susan, right? And I'm like, yeah, JAHA, right? He said, I used to get my hair cut. You know, the barber who's get, you know, we used to partner together being the same, but he's since moved on. I'm like, yeah, I know. And he's like, yeah, Will, I used to get my hair done. Yeah, I said, yeah, I know. He's like, listen. He's like, listen, I'm getting ready to, you know, petition to pass the Crown Act. You know, and I'm wondering if you know, could help me out. I'm like, sure, no problem. You know, so we got together, we worked it out. I testified and everything. And then they passed it locally. It was amazing. You know, they featured me on the local news and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, it was passed locally, and then I was reached out to come and do it, nationally. And one of the reasons why I also know about what to do about the Crown app was my mentor, when I first started in the industry, just work for Diane Bailey. She was instrumental in it passing first in New York and California. So with being around her, I learned about that and, knew exactly what to do to move forward in my home community.
Well, congratulations. And shout out to you and the DMV and to Maryland for getting things right. Hopefully, at some point, we can see this passed nationwide.
Yeah, he will. Eventually, he will.
No, we will. We will. It's just, it's long overdue. And the Senate has a lot to be ashamed about for this because it seems like a no-brainer. Let's talk a little bit about how you and I connected, which is via the Texture versus Race 2022 Summit, which also took place in Baltimore. We've obviously connected with Kia on our podcast. She came and reflected with me, which was really meaningful, for me at least. I'd love to hear, how did you get connected with Kia first?
So, I first, well, of course, she's in the industry, so you see her name. That, and Kia is always saying stuff that make you just kind of like, what? So I've always loved listening to her. But we had, and we were talking about all these controversial issues in the natural hair industry. And Kia was invited to one. And when Kia started talking, there was silence. And it was obvious, almost no one agreed with her about inclusion and all that kind of stuff. Because as I shared before you, Jeff, when I came up on the TVR stage, honestly, when I was started natural hair industry convention, I had no interest with inclusion, right? No.
For good reason. And I think it was so beautiful what you said.
It was just about my community. It wasn't that it was just my community, and I was just focusing on my community, right? But when you start going deeper, right? And you go deeper within yourself, you can't. You cannot. But I do believe that we should be inclusive, but I definitely believe, as Kia does, that we should be one steering the wheel. Right? Because it's our experience, right? Yes. So we should be at the forefront, but definitely the inclusion, listen to everyone, embrace everyone, right? So I just started laughing and I couldn't, didn't understand. But anyway, was trying to contact another person in the industry, and that person just would not return her calls. And she bought a ticket to our virtual event, and she saw me on the stage. So this is how I am in the background. A lot of people didn't know that I was the co-founder of the natural hair industry because I didn't really put it out there. I'm just, I love being in the background and just doing stuff. I'm just now within the last year or two decided to put my face out there. People know who I am and stuff like that. So Kia DM'd me and she's like, hey, I'm trying to reach out to the CEO of the Natural Hair Industry Convention. Can you hook me up? And I'm like, you're speaking to her. And we just connected. We just really connected.
I love that. Susan, where do you see our industry headed? I think that, again, with your convention and with TDR's most recent summit, there's momentum in a certain direction towards expansiveness and greater inclusion. But there's always a little bit of stepping backwards. And I would love to get your take on where we're at, where you think we should be. What are your thoughts?
So I think we should be exactly where we are. And as I said, I keep using the word, just go deeper. The stylists, our clients come to us and they tell us everything, right? So you see a lot of mental health training now. They're doing it with barbers. I don't know if you know the program they're doing with barbers.
Absolutely. Such important work.
Yeah. So I am now, that's number one for me right now in the industry, to bring that awareness and to solidify our presence in our community, health and wellness, right? That's where we are. I don't want us to be known specifically for styling the hair alone. Yes, there's a lot of amazing stylists, but I want us to know to be known as the place where you can come to if you need some help. We should, as hairstylists at hair salon, we should have information for our clients if they need to go. If someone had a fire in their house, or they need some help to get some clothes or food or something. That's how I see us in the community. We are almost like the backbone of our community. People come to us and talk to us. So that's where I see this industry going. We need to just dig our roots even deeper, let people know politics.
Lean in. Yeah.
Politics. We need to talk about politics, all that stuff in our community. So that's where I see me, and I see us pushing the community forward and just opening up certain conversations. Because when you talk to your stylist, it's a whole different conversation. So I just want the conversation to get wider, but then going really deep and knowing that we can talk and not be upset and accept and still agree to disagree, but all move forward.
I'm loving this, especially because it's making me think of our combo at the beginning, which is that you coming into this industry wasn't about the hairstyling.
No, at all.
And this is like bearing true every time we're talking a little bit. It's like, oh, yep, that's why. The bigger purpose. But let's be honest, you've been doing hairstyling for almost 40 years.
Yes.
And we've heard a little bit of chatter that you're thinking of perhaps retiring.
Yes.
So talk to us about this. What was the impetus?
Unfortunately, I mentioned it in jest about a month ago. Two of my clients were sitting there and they looked at me traumatized, and I realized I can't just take this thing for granted.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm tired physically.
Yeah, sure. It's exhausting. This is something we don't talk about enough. So I'm glad you're bringing it up. This is hard work.
I'm physically exhausted. And you know that little secret that I really can't talk about? But I said, it's coming. And when it comes, it needs my attention 100%. I cannot be behind the chair. And then me wanted to go deeper, mental health in the industry, mentoring, I cannot be behind the chair. But I will not leave my clients high and dry. Peter Kindred is going to be going on. I'm going to be hiring stylists to work. I'm still going to be there for my clients, doing all the consultation, talking to them about hair loss. So I'm still going to be here, but I'm just not going to be physically behind the chair.
Well, we are so excited for what this is going to look like moving forward, for what's next for you. And you're going to keep us in touch. We want to know about all of these updates, including everything the convention. Like, you're not going to get rid of us. So don't worry.
Oh, definitely. As a matter of fact, I hope that you guys will be there.
I'm always thrilled to go back to Baltimore. I'm originally from Baltimore, so anytime I am.
Great,
yep.
Great.
So when Kia had the summit, I was like, we'll be there. You talking about this convention? We'll be there.
All right.
Love it.
Awesome.
Shout out to Maryland for real.
Awesome.
Doing big things.
Yeah.
All right. One last time before we get into our quick takes and wrap. Where can people find you? Find your products? Just all of the plugs. Where can they go?
So my products are JAHA Natural. You can also find it at Peter Kindred, which is the salon. I have a link to my products. And of course, my personal page is Susan L. Peterkin. Talk about my family and everything like that. So you know me personally. And then, of course, Natural Hair Industry, the industry page.
Amazing. And again, everything will be linked in the show notes. So make sure you're following, please. All right, let's do our quick takes. Susan, these are the questions that we ask of all of our guests. The first question: what is the first ever product that you remember owning, beauty or hair, or that maybe was purchased for you at your request?
Mascara.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember that.
I love that. Well, especially you've conjured up such this image of you helping the friends in the
eyebrows and stuff, and I use the mascara on my lashes and my brows. Yep.
I love it. All right, cool. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
No, I'm not superstitious, but I'm very aware. I'm a very aware person. I said I'm an introvert, so I'm always looking and listening.
Taking it in.
Not superstitious at all. No.
Okay. Who would play you in a biopic of your life?
Younger Susan, Queen Latifah. Older Susan, Octavia Spencer.
Oof, I love both of those casting decisions. Cosign. Let's make that
Yes.
project happen.
Yes. Yep.
Susan, what do you consider to be the ultimate comfort food?
You know, anything with bread,
Okay.
I'm good. Give me some bread and butter, and I'm good. I can survive on bread and butter. Have you ever had Jamaican hard-boiled bread?
Oh, no, I was just going to ask you, if it's not Jamaican, what are we going to do?
Yes. I
Okay.
invite you to get to, and next time I see you,
Yep.
I'm going to, some Jamaican hard-boiled bread, warm it up, put some butter on it. Oh, it's over.
That sounds so good.
It's over.
Yep. Okay. All right. I'm going to take you up on that. Don't you worry. All right. Our last question. Say you're deserted on an island somewhere. You can only bring, it's not Jamaica. It's not somewhere nice. Hey, you can only bring 3 beauty products. You don't have to
Okay.
worry about water, food. Like we're good.
Mhm.
You're not going to die. But
Okay.
3 beauty products. What are they
Okay.
going to be?
Definitely my original JAHA Hair Original Oil. My Cetaphil lotion in a jar.
So good.
My
Set up
number 1 beauty product. I have a tube in every bag.
Turn up the volume, everybody. What is it?
Aquaphor.
Wow.
I literally have a tube in every bag.
Sleeper hit. We love it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. All right, Susan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the Volume Up
Thank
podcast.
you. Thank you. It was my pleasure. This was fun. It was fun. I love this.